Hello. Okay, we are slowly having people join in. We'll give it just another minute to let people get settled and we will jump in after that.
And Taylor, I can drink water on the webinar, right? This isn't a no water zone,
You
right?
can drink as much water as you'd like.
Okay, just checking.
Maybe not in the middle of answering a question, but
Take a sip, answer,
go for it. All attendees feel free to drink water as well.
Kind offer.
Okay, it is 7:01 Mountain Time, so we are going to jump in. My name is Taylor Deerdorf. I am a staff member here at XYPN. I'm in the Member Services Department, and I'm a Member Experience Specialist. Every person on this call today is listening in as a non-member of XYPN. This is our June Member Perspective webinar, so you get the pleasure and honor of listening to two of our awesome members. We will introduce them in just a second. But if you're listening in today, you likely have some questions around either starting or running your RIA. And at XYPN, among advisors thinking about joining the network, two of the most common questions we get are, what should my niche be? And how should I do marketing? So we decided to combine them into one session tonight, the power of niche marketing. So you've probably heard and read a lot on XYPN radio if you listen at all, or read in some of our blogs and things like that about niches. It's something we talk about a lot and for good reason, but instead of reading things like our benchmarking survey or our blogs, we decided to hear from two of our members themselves. It's not every day. You can hear from two people doing it out in the field every single day. So tonight we have the questions that you all have submitted before. We also have the function of the Q&A, so you can submit questions live as they come up, which we will have time to answer. But we are so excited to dive in. Before doing so, I'm going to have Stephanie give a brief introduction to herself, and then Emlen. So Stephanie, take it away.
Great, thanks Taylor. Hi everyone. So I am Stephanie Bucko. I'm the Chief Investment Officer of an RIA called Mana Financial Life Design, and we're based in Marina del Rey, California. Since we're talking about niches, we really focus on two main clients. One is women in institutional investing, because that's where both my business partner and I, Christina, came from. So we're very familiar with the space. And then also women in tech. So I'm sure we'll dig deeper in that, but yeah, that's it.
Awesome. And Emlen, could you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Emlen Miles-Mattingly. I am work for Gen Next Wealth. I'm the Chief Everything Officer, so I do it all. Located like 20 miles north of Fresno, so out here in California. My niche is minority families, and I know we'll get into that a little more later. But yeah, I do minority families and multi-generational family planning.
Awesome. And we definitely will get into that later. Before jumping into the questions, I just have three things I want to mention. The first is referral credits. If anyone after this call does decide to join XYPN and you did so because of this call, please feel free to put either Stephanie Bucko or Emlen Miles-Mattingly as the reason you joined the network. We like to track the effectiveness of these calls, if it's worth putting on, and just to track who's coming from where. So if you do join after this call, be sure to put their names down. We also have next month, we're very excited to have the first AMA instead of a member perspective call. So you will actually get to hear from Alan Moore and Michael Kitsis, our two co-founders. It'll be on a Tuesday at a different time on Tuesday, July 9th. So everything is different. It's the first time we're doing this. So feel free to tune in next month for something a little bit different, and we'll be back to perspective calls after that. And finally, just a note that you can submit questions via the Q&A. We don't have anything yet, but feel free to drop those down during the call as they come up. So we are going to jump in. Just keep note that we will be sharing links and helpful resources throughout the call too, so be sure to check the chat. So first off, Stephanie, if you could just tell us a bit about your background and what brought you to begin starting your own RIA before we get into anything related to niches or marketing.
Yeah, so I spent my career in the hedge fund industry, and I started off auditing hedge funds for PricewaterhouseCoopers, and then I went to work in risk management for a fund of hedge funds, and it was for Man Group, which is one of the largest hedge funds in the world. So I really love investments. It's a big part of my life, and started managing individual money about 5 years ago. And really fell in love with the business. It was a lot different for me working with individuals and just getting to actually impact their lives instead of working for like the board of directors or a pension, or you're never really like sitting eye to eye with the people whose money you're managing. So really fell in love with the business. I kind of realized that a lot of my clients in money management were coming to me and saying like, just with any kind of financial planning problem. So how to education plan, what's the best structure for that? Or, thinking about asset location for their retirement accounts versus non. And I kind of realized that I had a bit of a gap in terms of my education for all of the things that individuals needed. At the same time, my best friend from college, Christina, was studying for the CFP. And she is both a CFP and registered life planner, which is a subsect of CFPs that really focus on like connecting your dreams to financial planning. So the two of us decided to team up about a year ago, and we launched Mata Financial Life Design.
Awesome. Yeah, I think you joined exactly a year ago, pretty soon. So
yeah.
Emlen, if you could tell us a bit about your background and what brought you to the network and starting your own firm.
Yeah. Okay, I started in banking, long time ago. So I started in banking and then did that for a while, teller, new accounts, branch manager. And then from there, just wanted to do something. I've always wanted to be a financial advisor. And when the opportunity presented itself, I started working at another firm, Edward Jones, worked there for a little while, like 6 months, and didn't really particularly care for knocking on people's doors. It was just a really interesting experience, to say the least. And then from there, I went to work at a broker dealer, went there and worked there for about 5 years. And while I was there, we did financial planning, and I'm saying that with air quotes because we were just trying to sell a whole bunch of insurance products. But what I was finding out from the clients was, one, I kept getting a lot of minority clients that kept coming to me. And then they would always have questions. And it wasn't necessarily about insurance, but that was the only way we got paid. So somehow we always made sure that we talked about insurance. And started listening to the XY podcast. And, I think that was like 4 years ago. And after getting married and getting pregnant and starting a firm all within 3 months, I was like, I fit right in with XY. And then I joined XY a little while after I started my firm. So I started my firm in 2007, in November of 17. And then I joined XY in February of 18. So it's been fun.
Awesome. And Emlen, I mean, the story you described of selling insurance and that whole pathway that led you to the fee-only world and to XYPN, that I think you found is super common in the network. And I think a lot of people join and think that that alone could be a niche, that just doing fee-only could be a niche. So when exactly in your path did you decide to focus on minorities specifically? Was it from the very beginning or did it evolve later?
It kind of evolved as... I didn't really, we talk about niches a lot, right? It's niche. And I really didn't realize it was a niche until I had spoken to a few people and I was like, yeah, most of my clients, and I started thinking about most of my, 80% of my clients were all minorities. I was like, wow, wait, hold on. I think this is a niche. And so I always make a joke about it. I said, I didn't choose the niche chose me. And so when people were looking for advisors, when minorities were looking for advisors, they wanted a minority advisor, and it just kind of happened. And then I would say things, because this is part of the marketing part, I guess, a little bit, and I'll just kind of touch on that. But I would say things to my clients like, if you think about money, think about me. And even though I was only working in the capacity of doing like insurance and investments, I wasn't really doing financial planning. It kind of led to that, right? So when you think about money, think about me. And the other thing that I would say to them was, if you're sitting down for dinner, like let's say it was Thanksgiving or something, if they're sitting down for Thanksgiving dinner and everyone at the table didn't know who I was, then I wasn't doing a good job. And that led to me getting a lot of referrals from family members, and then ultimately really solidifying the niche that I had working with multi-generational families.
Okay. So it kind of evolved as you realized it was something that was of interest to all of your clients, or commonality. Okay. Stephanie, what about you and Christina and Mana? Did you guys have a vision from the very beginning, or did it evolve?
Oh, certainly evolved. I mean, when you start, it's kind of like we started from scratch. So it was really like, okay, who wants to come in? And, and it was great because we reached out to our existing network and just kind of put the word out there, and people started coming. So, right now we've got 26 clients, and that ranges anywhere from age like 24 up to 65. So from an age perspective, it was, we have somebody in every decade. And then as we started to think more and more about it, and you'll learn with XY that they love the niche. So but it does resonate. And honestly, it makes so much sense, and we totally understand why. But we started looking at our client base, and where we were adding a ton of value was really people with stock compensation. And so that typically falls within the tech world. And then also like people who have all these legacy hedge fund investments. So like those two things really made sense. And we're like, oh, we're adding a ton of value here. Like, let's dig into this. And then from a women perspective, we actually have 50-50 men and women. But our message is really all around like money mindfulness. And we really like focus on people developing a good mindset even before we dig into any of the numbers. And so I think that message resonates with women really well. But what's been interesting is like, just because we are saying like, okay, like women is our target market within tech and institutional investing, we have 50% men, but they've all come from women referrals. So it's, you never really know who ends up being the client, but it's, that's kind of been our path.
Okay. And we're definitely going to talk about the marketing aspect of it. But since you guys did, and whenever that was, choose and focus on a niche, did that change anything in the way you viewed or approached your business and your firm, Stephanie?
Oh gosh, it made everything so much easier. It's like, I'm a process freak. So I like love when things are super organized. And like just thinking about creating repeatable process, it makes that whole aspect of your business a lot better. And then you can really focus on value creation, because like we're financial planners. So we're in the business of creating value for people. If you're a specialist in something really specific, you can figure out so many ways to create value. And so that's been really good, just, from every part of the business.
Okay. Emlen, have you found the same?
Yes. And then, Stephanie and I were actually talking about this prior, so I wanted to bring this up. So I recently, a couple months back, as you know, Taylor, I ruptured my Achilles tendon. Okay, so rupturing Achilles is a kind of a big, it was bad. So, but I knew I needed to get surgery. When I was looking for someone that was going to do surgery on my Achilles tendon, I didn't want a doctor that did knees. I didn't want a doctor that worked on shoulders. I didn't want a doctor that worked on hips. I went directly to this website, and what I looked for was the foot specialist. They had 3 foot specialists. It gave you background about them. And when I went to go see him, this is the point that I want to make about having a niche. He was able to diagnose immediately when I went in. So I went in, he had me get on the table, looked at my foot, and said, yes, it's ruptured. These are your options. You can have surgery, or you can, recover without surgery. And he told me the 2 things that what the difference was between going through surgery and what was going to happen if I decided to go without surgery. But the point is that because he only deals with feet, he was able to diagnose and prescribe immediately as soon as he seen it. And I was supposed to go get an MRI after that. But once again, because he was a specialist in that field, he said, you don't even need to get an MRI. if you're going to do surgery, we'll get you in next Tuesday. And he had 3 of us that day that he was doing the same surgery on.
There you go.
I mean, it's
power of a niche. That's really cool. I think we've heard, I think they use that as kind of an example, but that is so specific to your situation just a couple months ago. So that makes a lot of sense from a process perspective, but then switching it over to marketing, and that's, you know, the power of niche marketing. So when you guys chose your niche, how did that change how you approached your marketing strategy? That was one of the biggest questions that we got. Emlen, go ahead.
You know, it really didn't change what I was trying to do. Cause I mean, I think, being a part of the niche that I'm trying to reach really was easy for me just to kind of just market myself, as being a part of that niche. So it didn't necessarily change it, but what it did do is I noticed how like when I was using some marketing companies, they didn't identify with my niche. So the marketing material that I was sending out wasn't pictures of people from my niche, which was really weird. And it was funny once I started to notice that, that changed how I started to market. I was like, you know what, I need to have different pictures of people of color in my marketing. And yeah, so being more, just being more aware of what was coming out in the content that I was putting out, that did change.
Okay. And Stephanie, anything for you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it brought such great focus. If you think about financial planning as a whole and all of the different things that we can do for people, there's a lot of stuff you can write about and so, or talk about, or whatever the medium is that you're using. So for us, it really brought focus to saying like, okay, who are we talking to? And like, what are the things that they care about? And like, you know, I know we'll talk more about like tools and stuff like that, but like, for example, like if you send out a MailChimp thing, you can see what people click on. And so it's like, we already had some data on like, okay, so who in our client base is in this niche? And now what are they clicking on? Like, what do they actually care about? Because like sometimes that may not even come through in a conversation and it may just like spur curiosity elsewhere. So it really brought focus in terms of like the things that we want to be talking about and kind of the voice that we want to be using.
That's awesome. So before we dive more into marketing, Emlen, if you could start off just kind of giving us a broad view of what you're doing for marketing at this point in time.
Most of my marketing is done through social media. So I use more so Instagram and Facebook. So in most of my marketing, honestly, I look at it as a virtual handshake. So people get to meet me. So you're going to see pictures of my family, my son, my daughters, my wife, stuff that we're doing. And because what I wanted to be able to do was relate to the people and let them know what I do, but not always beat them over the head with what I do. And so that was something that's how I started marketing. And then one of the things I didn't mention that I was thinking about as Stephanie was talking was when it came to the like marketing, like I would listen to what people would ask me questions, you know, what kind of, what's the difference between leasing a car and buying a car? And so I make a video about it and post a video on it. People would ask me questions on, what's a mutual fund? And so it was really different once and back to what you're talking about after identifying with the niche, what I was finding out is a lot of minorities didn't know what a mutual fund was. They heard the word, didn't understand it. And so when I started making marketing videos about this is what a mutual fund is, this is the difference between a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA, and had people made those videos before? Yes, tons of people have made those videos, but the people that are looking for you haven't heard you make that video. And so it's okay to have a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA conversation on video for the clients that you're trying to speak to, because they haven't heard it from your voice. And that is what I started doing. And I started doing that on Instagram. So I got an Instagram channel. And then I have my regular, personal Instagram, and then on my Facebook, and I post videos on there all the time.
Right. I love that. I haven't heard it described that way before because you're right. If someone is looking for you, they probably haven't seen the hundreds of other videos or articles about that. So that is a great way to look at it. Stephanie, how about for you and Mana? How do you guys approach marketing and what are everything you guys are doing right now?
Sure. Yeah, no, Emlen, I totally agree with you. It's that just the concept of putting it out there, like there's a lot of repeated information out there, but like people often don't know where to go to. So if you're their trusted advisor, like it's great for you to share that information so they don't get like information overload. Um, but so we do a couple different things. So in terms of social media, Christina manages our social media and she posts 3 times a week. There's either 2 stats in 1 quote or 2 quotes in 1 stat. Really the like purpose of Instagram is like just to give information that like people can use either to motivate them or to learn something about the financial world. We do sometimes put in pictures of ourselves because people, it's funny that that actually gets the most likes. I think there's stats behind that, but so it's a combination of like pretty palm trees, but also like pictures of us. And then we blog twice a month, and the blog's incorporated in our newsletter, which we send out to clients and other people who have had some interest. And then we'll use our personal social media to share from there. So, you know, what's tended to happen is that once like Mana posts something, then we'll share it just so we can continue expanding the network, just because as you get started and if you decide to have a separate business account, your business account won't have any followers. So you just have to slowly gain them over time. The other stuff that we do, so we host events, and there's a couple of different types of events. One thing that we've been really focused on is doing money circles. And so we call them Mana Money Circles. And really it's a way for women to sit around in a circle, which is the most ancient form of how we communicated, and like share stories. And so they're really not like financial heavy. It's more financial mindset heavy. And so we do that just as a way for people to share their stories about their past and really like connect with other people and realize that like oftentimes some of the fears that you have around money, other people have too. So that's been really powerful. We did an event this past week at a high school. So we went and talked to parents of kids that have just graduated from high school about 5 conversations to have with your kids before they go off to college. So we're really about like giving info, like not pitching products, because I mean, we don't sell products, but it's also, you know, we think that the more that you give in terms of information and things like serving as a trusted resource, people will start to come. And that's really the approach we've taken. I guess there's one other aspect. We, last week, very excited, launched our what we want to call is our side hustle, but it's called Mana Money School. And Mana Money School we created, it's an online video series that's about 4 hours long, broken up into 10 episodes to teach people ages 18 to 26 everything that they never learned about money in school. So that's probably a whole different conversation, but just from a marketing perspective, it's getting our name out there in a very different way. And Emlen and I were talking, video is something that people really are drawn to. So that's been pretty exciting to put out into the world.
Awesome. That is a lot from both of you. So with all the different endeavors you guys are doing and I think about doing, do you do any sort of paid marketing or pay for Google Analytics, things like that? Stephanie, do you guys do that?
So for Mana Financial Life Design, we don't, because it's capacity constrained. So, you know, we are 2 people and we think that we can take on 100 families. So no paid marketing there. For Mana Money School, however, we have done paid marketing, and that's gone through Facebook ads and Instagram ads, Google ads. We're looking into LinkedIn. So that one we are using it. So it's sort of different business models there, but even just like some of the free analytics are really good. So like on MailChimp, you can get free analytics, or within Squarespace, if you build your website on Squarespace, you learn a lot about how users are using your interface. So There's a lot of free things out there. Like if you have a Google account, you can actually like sign up for Google Analytics and get things for free. So I would totally recommend that.
Awesome. Emlen, do you guys do any paid marketing at this point?
Not paid well, I've done some campaigns on Facebook. I haven't done any on Instagram. We are starting a podcast. And I'm having someone do the podcast editing for me, and we're going to run a Facebook group. So the Minority Money podcast should be out within the next 30 days or so. So I guess that's kind of paid marketing, I guess.
Cool. Well, congrats. That's exciting.
Yes.
With all the things you guys are doing, how long has it taken to see any results from different marketing endeavors, and how do you know if it's successful? Emlen, what do you do when you look at certain things?
So this is what I'll say about that, because everybody wants to have a formula like you put 5 posts out and then you're going to get 3 people for every 5 posts. That's not the way it works. You have to find something that you like to do. If you like doing it, I love being on Instagram. So that's not a problem for me to go on there and post something and not get a whole bunch of likes, because I like doing it anyways and I like seeing other people's stuff. With that being said, last week I had 4 prospects come from 3 from LinkedIn and 1 from a referral last week. So, not LinkedIn, I'm sorry, Instagram. I had 3 from Instagram because I'm not very active on LinkedIn. But so I don't know if there's a formula that I would look for, but I know, most people that are advisors are always thinking, okay, well, give me the X plus Y equals this. Mm-hmm. And that's not the way it's going to work. I think people want to see consistency. So long as you're consistently posting, the results will come. And this is just how it's been. It'll come in waves. Sometimes you'll get a lot, sometimes you won't get anything. But remember, it's a long-term play, not something short. And don't try to calculate, okay, well, I made this many posts and I got this many. I don't keep track of likes. I don't keep track of any of that. I just post it and let it go. Because I know I look at the analytics to see how many people look at it. I know that, posting stuff about me, I get more, my son. If I post my son, then I get, I'm going to get more traction. People just like that. But if I post my son, someone goes to my page and they find out what I do. And because last week, I don't think I posted much about me. It was just all about my son. And lo and behold, I had 3 people that said, well, this guy has a young kid to feed. We need to help him. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. Maybe it was mercy. But all I'm saying is just do something that you like. If it's LinkedIn, work LinkedIn. If you like Twitter, then use Twitter. If you like Instagram, then use Instagram. But whatever you do, just do something you like.
Got it. So, or just have a cute baby.
Yeah, that too. That too.
Okay. Stephanie, I know how much you love data. Do you guys have any advice, or do you have any metrics on how long certain marketing endeavors can take? Or is your take kind of like Emlen, just kind of do what you like best and it'll pay off?
Yeah, I definitely agree. You have to do what you like. Like, I think there's a great quote from Howard Marks, the CIO of Oaktree, big hedge fund. He wrote for 10 years and didn't receive a single response, and now he's got one of the best investment letters out there, very famous. So it's like, in time, things will come if you put out quality work. Definitely do the things you love, and there are certain metrics that are good to look at. Like, for example, like your MailChimp, like that being opened, things being clicked on. Like, you can kind of, everybody's open rates and click rates are going to be different. It depends on your audience, right? Like, if you have an audience that like is pretty small and genuinely cares about what you're doing, your rates are going to be higher. But a good thing to do is look at how that changes over time. Like, were there certain things that really stuck? Like, did people comment on anything? If somebody responds to a MailChimp campaign, like, think about how many things you get in your inbox that you never respond to. Like, if somebody's responding, they really care. You've got a captive audience, so feed them what they care. So I think like using those metrics to like help bolster your existing marketing works. But sometimes it's like, things just take time. And like, we had someone that's been following us on Instagram since we launched, and she reached out last week and she's like, I've been thinking about you like all the time, but just that consistency and like, we keep popping up in our feed and they keep liking it, like that that kind of consistency is important. So you may not see results right away, but like definitely stick with it because it does pay off. Sorry, I have one other like method of marketing that I completely forgot about.
Go for it.
The CFP designation gets you a ton of free marketing. Like it's really amazing. I am not a CFP, but my business partner is. And so the fee only network, the guy, Alan, is such a wizard, like an SEO wizard. You can pick his brain. He's awesome. Like he set up a profile. He'll tell you how to optimize your website. There's so many things you can do there. NAPFA, XY. We've gotten like amazing leads from XY. And they're all super qualified. So I think like really figuring out what you want to say on those is very important. Have a nice picture and that CFP designation gets you the right to be in those places.
Awesome. That was a great thing we didn't touch on. If you guys haven't checked out the xyplanningnetwork.com, all the profiles, you can find Christina, Stephanie's business partner. And another note on that too is people do search through niches a lot. So if you need to find someone to repair your Achilles tendon, you could find it on That's Why Planning Network. The other question we got just live right now was actually around advertising. It was, how do you address the compliance responsibilities related to using social media, especially advertising? So Stephanie, could you start?
Oh yes, a lover of compliance here. So there's how you have to think about it is like a registered investment advisor is registered because you're doing investment analysis and you're doing security selection. So like the definition of investment advice is really what you need to configure in your compliance manual to be very specific about what is investment advice and what is not investment advice. Once you have that, then you can tailor your policy to be very specific in terms of who is allowed to do what. So an example that we did was to say, okay, once something has been out on Mana Financial Life Designs, Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook or on our website, once we've approved that, then individual employees can separately go out and blast it without making changes. And so making sure that like you're not giving investment advice through these social media posts is super important. And like then you fall within those like guidelines is really the best way that I've understood it.
Awesome. Emlen, anything to add? I know you both are pretty up on compliance.
You know what? Yeah, you're not at a broker dealer anymore. And that's a big deal. Like you're not at a broker dealer anymore. So being able, like you can say Roth IRA, you can say traditional IRA, as long as you're not telling people that you should have, as long as you're not making recommendations, then which you shouldn't be doing anyways. But it's not nearly as hard as it was before in your previous life when you're with the BD. So you'll see that, and I'll say this back to what I was saying a little while ago, because I just thought about this. So one client that I got off of LinkedIn, or she came to me, one of my clients tagged her in something I had posted, and then she came to me, and she didn't go back and talk about any of the financial posts that I had. When she came into my office, she's like, I felt like I knew you. She's like, your son is so cute. She's talking about my son. She's talking, she's like, oh, I seen pictures when you guys were over in Europe, and I seen you doing this and I seen you doing that. That's what people care about. She didn't do business with me because of all the financial information I had on my page. She looked at that and she gravitated towards, this guy has a family, and he's relatable, and that's why she came in. So I think, just like anyone else, people are looking for someone they can relate to. Just become that.
Wow, that's so powerful. Just being your authentic self and not hiding it or changing it. That's so cool. On the same line, so all these different things, you guys have mentioned them a couple times. You mentioned MailChimp, Stephanie, you guys have both mentioned video marketing is something you do. What specific tools or technology do you rely on in your marketing plan? Emlen, if you want to start.
I use a lot of MailChimp. I use a little bit of Google Analytics. I use the analytics that come to me on Facebook. I'll use the analytics on Instagram. So if you have a business Instagram page, like my page is personal, but it's attached to my business page on my Facebook. So I can look and see how many people are, looking at my videos. If they're, skipping the video, I can tell that. And then if from whatever video I posted, how many people went to my website from the video. So those are good things to look at. That's usually the extent of my analytics. I don't spend a lot of time getting analytical because I think that then I'll lose my authenticity because I'm trying to market to what the analytics say. So it's not necessarily the best way to do things, but I've been seeing some results. So, yeah.
Okay. Stephanie, what about you guys? What tools or tech do you use?
Yeah, everything that Emlen said is pretty much what we use. I guess the only other thing I can think of is our blog is on our website. And so thinking about how to incorporate the blog in terms of SEO, because again, focusing on the niche, like if you've got specific topics where you can either create a tag or you can do something that like pulls people back into that niche, like that's the way that your website will get ranked up on Google.
Okay. This question came in. What is one piece of marketing specific advice you would give an advisor who is just starting out? Stephanie, if you can start, what would yours be?
Yeah, I mean, I think we may have said it already, but I would just echo, do something that you like, because you're gonna have to do it over and over again. So it's definitely good to enjoy it and like have fun with it. I mean, I totally echo what Emlen said, where like being your authentic self, like this is a people business. If you're not yourself, like it's going to be really hard to keep that act up. So like just be yourself and put stuff out there that interests you and the clients that you're working with. You'll see a lot of success.
Awesome. Emlen, anything to add?
Yeah, I'll say this. I don't, sometimes I think we go out and we go on social media and we want to have all these followers. We want to have, you see people and they have 10,000 followers or 20,000 followers, or people have 1 million followers. I promise you this, if you get 100 people that are loyal to you, you don't need any more than that. And let that resonate. Like really think about that. If you have 10 people that are loyal, that listen to what you say, 20 people, those people are probably going to become clients. You don't need 1 million people. And so I'll just, that's something that I think we get caught up in a lot. How many followers you have, how many likes, that doesn't matter. You really only need to get 10 people. So if you have 10 people that are in the niche market that you're going after, they're going to be listening to you. You become their voice. And that's the most powerful thing that I think you can do, is knowing who is listening to you and speaking to them.
You guys are so awesome. We got a few more questions around niches specifically and how to choose them. Someone live put in, it's a longer post, but basically that they had a personal experience with a brain injury, brain tumor, and they want to work with brain surgeons. So his or her, I guess, reservation is that why would they want to work with me, I guess, the self-doubt, or where do you even begin? So did either of you have that feeling when you chose a niche of feeling like there's already people out here doing this? Why would they want to work with me, and how did you overcome it? Emlen, you're nodding, so I'll start with you.
I still deal with it all the time. Like, we're doing this podcast, it's going to be called Minority Money. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm going to do this. I can't believe I'm going to do this. Like, what if I say something wrong? And I just said, you know what, I'm going to do it anyway. I know Carl Richards always talks about the imposter syndrome, and I deal with it on a daily basis. And I just say, do it anyways. Like, what's the worst that can happen?
What's the worst that can happen?
I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You get a couple clients, and then, or you don't get any clients, and then you change your niche. It doesn't mean that you have to stay in that niche forever. But yeah, I know it's probably not the best answer, but I'll just say that you're going to be scared no matter what it is. You're going to doubt yourself. You have to overcome that and do it anyways. Like I know that some of you have, you might go eventually and look at some of the videos I posted on Instagram or see some videos one day. I hate videos. And I'm not saying that I hate videos. I said I hate videos, but it's nerve wracking because I know people are going to watch this and I'm critiquing the video and it's like, oh my God. And so what I've made a rule for myself is I record it 3 times. If it's not done in those 3 times, it just goes out with mistakes and with everything. And it's just like, all right, it's going out. And all I'll say is this, like, you're going to make mistakes. You might not be able to do it, and you might not have everything right. But what people will be able to feel is the passion you have for what you're trying to do. So if this is something that you're really trying to do and you want to work with brain surgeons because of your personal experience, let that come out and people will feel that. And that is you being your authentic self. And if people don't want to do business with you because of that, then they probably shouldn't be your clients anyways.
Awesome. Stephanie, anything with you guys, I guess when you did kind of evolve to working with your niche as it is, did you guys feel like, I don't know if this will work? Did you have any doubts when starting?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a business. You're running your own business. You're going to doubt yourself all the time. But like XY is a great network. So you can have a lot of other people that doubt themselves and they'll pump you up so you don't. Like, that's like, I mean, I think it's so awesome to have like-minded people that you can talk to. If you want to work with brain surgeons, because that's your, like, that's people that you like to be around and you talk to, and that's important to you, absolutely do that. Like, you know, I one of our niches is women in institutional investing. You'd pretty much think that people in institutional investing have their stuff organized. Like, you're like, well, you work at a hedge fund, clearly you're all right, but they're not. And like, and that's like, when you actually sit down and talk to people, like across the board, it does not matter what industry you're in. You may be a specialist in your field, and like even in a hedge fund field, it's very different than personal finance. And so like recognizing that, like, especially if you're going after the CFP designation and other things, that you are an expert. And so rely on yourself to be that expert. And if you don't know the answer, ask the network, ask other people that will, and you'll make your way for sure.
Even investors need help. So that's perfect. Going back to your client base, I know you guys both kind of mentioned the makeup and who was in it, but when you guys do get a prospect that's not in your specific niche, how do you handle that? And what kind of calculation do you do to take on that client or not? Stephanie, if you want to start.
Yeah, so we kind of went through and looked at our process. And so, you know, developing a process and kind of understanding the scope of your engagement is something I'd recommend everyone do. And it'll evolve over time. I mean, that's to be expected. But whenever you have these conversations and you recognize that, like, you're going to have to spend so much time to get to learn like this specific thing, and they really could use the help of someone else. Like, that is why it's great to have a network like XY, because then basically you just say like, hey, this is what the client situation is, who's got it? And like, then all of a sudden all these people are being tagged and you're like, you feel better because you actually gave that client a good home that, like, of somebody that can actually solve their problem. Cause like, I mean, we can do so many things, but like, that also means that things can be quite complicated. So it's really an evaluation of time versus money. Because time is your most valuable resource.
Gotcha. Emlen, for you, I guess, what do you do when a client approaches you that's not in your niche?
Even if they're not in my niche or they're not a good fit, just because we do the fit meeting. So sometimes you just don't fit with the client, and I just tell them, like, you know what, I don't think this is a good fit. And that was the most like, you know, when you're trying to grow a business and you're like, I'm going to tell this person no, I can't believe it. But every time I've done that, they've been replaced with someone else that actually fit. And so I think after you've drawn that line, it's hard to, you know, as you're trying to grow your business, it's going to be hard. But I think you win and the client wins, or the prospective client wins, because they know that, you know, you were honest with them and said that it wasn't going to work. And I've had people that I said wouldn't work send clients to me. So, you know, because they're like, oh, wow, you know, well, what are you looking for? So having that client avatar is a big deal too. So knowing what you want, and being okay with saying no. And if you don't believe us, just try saying no one time. Just try it once and then see what happens. Just once. Just one.
It feels really good.
The power of
like
no.
it's so like freeing. Like you just feel liberated if you say, I don't know how it does something to you.
You have to sit across the table or across the Zoom meeting from these people. You're gonna want to work with them.
Mm-hmm.
For a long time, hopefully too.
Yes.
So one of the questions we got too was, what are some resources you guys use, like blogs or podcasts, something like that, to dive deeper into marketing best practices or advice? Anything you guys go to? Emlen, if you can start, if you have something.
You know what? This is just another plug for XY, but they had a content marketing class that I just went through, a 6-week content marketing class. Oh my God, that thing was amazing. It was really, really good. So that really opened up my eyes on how I'm communicating. And I think that is so critical. How you could, like, finding your voice is probably just as important as anything else that we're talking about. So you have that authentic voice coming out, and you become that voice for your audience. But once again, identifying the audience, which is the niche. So it's kind of, what do you do first? Find your voice or find your niche? It's kind of tough. But as far as the marketing, I did this stuff with XY. I've signed up for some stuff on, like I use Pat Flynn for my podcasts and stuff. So I'll listen to other podcasts and just kind of go on like a little rabbit hunt. Sometimes it's not all financial advisor stuff either. Sometimes I'll glean stuff from other people. Like I follow Tim Ferriss, which I'm sure a lot of you know who that is. He wrote the 4-Hour Work Week. And so from him, I ran into Pat Flynn, who does Smart Passive Income podcast, and then listening to stuff that they use for their marketing. And so, yeah, it's kind of a hodgepodge of different things that I listen to.
Okay. Stephanie, anything for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of goes to like the things that you enjoy reading or listening to and gaining inspiration from that. Like, what about them do you like? Like, what draws you in? What keeps you there? And you can absolutely cross industry. I'm with you on that, because like our friend runs a crystal boutique in Bali. It's called the Crystal Boutique, but she helped us with our social media strategy, and it was like, definitely not the same business, but it's really just thinking about like what do people like, what makes people care, and like getting in front of the people who care is the most important. So yeah, I mean, I think you can learn from a lot of places. There's so much content out there, but like really spending time on making it good, I think is a valuable thing to do, because rather quality over quantity there.
Right. And like you said, I mean, you're still running a business at the end of the day, so you don't have to listen to just finance industry blogs and things like that. One of the questions we got was, I think we hear a lot as far as how much time advisors should spend on marketing. Like, until you get your client base to a certain level, 90% of your time, or 95 or 80, how much time do you guys think or know you spend on marketing in a given week or month? Stephanie, if you know, you could start.
It's a good question. I think it probably varies, but I'd say it's somewhere around 30%. But there's also things that are just like I kind of view that like the client experience is marketing. So like giving clients a consistent experience where they will be a referral source, where it's like, make them feel super confident, so like they are confident in referring you. Like, I know Emlen and I were talking about this earlier, where a lot of our clients come from other clients. So you could even say like that every one of those emails that goes out to a client is a form of marketing. So yeah, I mean, we think about like our voice a lot, and like how we can best reach those people. So I'd put it at 30%.
Okay. Emlen, what about you?
I was trying to think about how much time I spend on it. I kind of have a schedule where I go on and I will make, my social media posts, and I try to batch them, do it all at once, and then come back and check and see if there's any. So I usually try to do it at 8 in the morning, and then I come back and I usually try to check them for lunch, and then I'll try to do something before I leave the office. So I would say probably around, 30% of my time is doing that. But I think also, to agree to Stephanie's point is your best marketing is probably going to be to your existing clients. Like if you're one thing that I've learned, if you got one good client, like if you only have one, and this is the client you like, and this is going to be a lot of you as you start your own business. What I did when I first started, and this was my marketing strategy, is I went to my clients and I said, hey, I need your help. Very, very candid with them. I need your help. I love working with you. And I want to be in, I need help building this business. Can you help me? Who do you know? And I just ask them straight for referrals. And that's where majority of my business is referral. Like I haven't done any cold calling, anything like that. I just do with the client marketing piece, I'd say probably like 50% of my time then is spent marketing, because I'm, if I'm not trying to meet with clients, I'm meeting with, like, if I'm either prospecting or whatever I'm doing, if I have a client in front of me, I think this is my time to market, because they're going to leave and they're going to tell someone about our meeting. So why not make the meeting memorable?
Right. Well, and this was perfect. We actually just got a question in Q&A. Do you specifically ask for referrals or hope you'll get them? Emlen definitely answered that question, but yeah. Stephanie, have you guys ever done that, or what's your stance on that?
I don't really have a stance on it. I'm about to go call up all my clients and ask them. So I will let you know how that goes. Because you're right. I mean, I've had past experiences where I have asked and the client was surprised and they were like, oh, I didn't even think to do that. And it's like just putting that thought in their head. Then it's like when they're having a conversation, like Emlen said, even around the dinner table, it's like then you get brought up because you're top of mind and they're like, oh, wait, they wanted, I have the perfect person for you.
And your clients like you, so it's easy.
It's. I'll say this. I was talking with another advisor in XY earlier this week, and we were talking about her centers of influence. There's people that you will have in your network that like you. I promise you, there's people in your network that want to see you win. But when you're starting a firm or after you have your firm going, they think because we do a good job of saying, oh man, it's great. We just started. It's awesome. Business is going. We do such a great job of talking ourselves up that we talk ourselves out of referrals from our friends, because we don't say, hey, you know what? We're taking new clients. Tell them that. So this advisor that I told this to, I said, let the people know that you're doing that. She said that she said that the advisor that she told, the person that her contact that she told, that said, oh, I just assumed that you were okay and weren't taking any more clients in. And she's sitting there like, I've needed clients this whole year. Like I've lost some, this and that. And so the person told her, hey, you can talk to this person. I'm going to go get you hooked up with this huge company that's in her niche. After she told him what her niche was, he's setting up a meeting for her with the head of the company. And that was just because she told him, after working with him for years, that she was needing new clients. So,
and I think the point about the niche is so great too, because like telling the clients about that niche, then it's like a no-brainer. Like they're talking to that person, they're like, okay, well, I have to tell you about this person.
Because it's so specific. Wow. Okay. We got another question very related. So you guys both talked about clients being, a center of, a referral source. And then we got a question on centers of influence. So do you have any centers of influence that are either just general or specific to your niche? And how did you approach them when that relationship formed? So Stephanie, if you want to take that.
Yeah, ours are a little out there, but it's like friends of ours that are working in like different parts of the world or different parts of the industries. Like, I mean, an example is there's an LA lifestyle brand that sells clothing and home goods, and we serve a couple of their people, and they have been a great referral source because we were posted on their blog. So it's like things like that where, that's why I like the conversation about the brain surgeon. Like if you can really get involved in something that's not your typical CPA, estate attorney, lawyer, like who are already being hit up for people all the time, if you can find someone super specific that just like happens to know a lot of people, those are the people that like we've had a lot of success with.
Okay. Emlen, what about you? Any centers of influence? And if they are they related to your niche?
No, like attorneys or anything like that. But just maybe community members. I'm in the town that I was born and raised in, so I'm lucky enough to have some friends that have climbed up the social ladder here in town, and so those are my biggest. So yeah, I guess I do have some centers of influence. One of them's like yeah. So and then just keeping in contact with them. That's the hardest thing to do, is keep in contact with them. So I try to make sure that I take someone, at least one person a week, out to coffee or lunch, just to kind of just talk to them and let them know what I do if they ask, and just ask about them, like genuinely ask questions. But I think that is something that as you get going in business, you forget to do the things that made you successful. And that's one of the things that made me, successful, is just doing lunches once a week. Just take someone to lunch or take them to coffee. And undoubtedly people see you out wherever you're at, even if you're doing stuff virtually, it doesn't necessarily matter. But if you still have people in your town that you know and you want to go take the coffee. So I that's what I do with centers of influence.
Perfect. Well, somehow we are almost at the top of the hour. So first off, thank you again, Stephanie and Emlen. We just would like to ask one final question, which is a broad question to anyone thinking about starting their firm or who has already had, but maybe thinking about joining the network. What are your words of wisdom for your experience running your RIA? Something you'd like to pass on to someone else? Stephanie, you can go first.
It's so fun. It's so challenging. There's like every day is a new day, and it's like driven around like changing people's lives. It's such an awesome business to be a part of. It's not easy by any means. I mean, I think that like as the business matures, it will probably get a little easier, but there's a lot of things going on, but it really grants you the opportunity to like learn constantly, be super creative, and like get to work with people that you love. So I couldn't speak more highly about this career, and feel very grateful, like working with XY, and we were not asked to say this, like working with XY, like it makes things super seamless. You have a ton of resources. Just getting it all set up, I feel like it's a no-brainer. I'm so happy we're part of it.
I'm so happy you're in the network, but I feel like you both know that. Emlen, what about you? Any words of wisdom for someone in your position in, I guess, January of 2018 or before that?
Yeah. I said it on the podcast, but I can't, like, this is just what I always say to people. Don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle. We do a good job of that by looking at, you guys are going to look at, Stephanie and myself and say, oh, well, they're doing this and they're doing that. And I understand, but we're a little bit further ahead of some, and we're a little bit behind some of the people that may be on the call. All I'll say is it's the most rewarding thing that you will ever do is working for yourself. Like there's something about sitting back at the end of the month, the end of the day, end of the week, and saying, man, I built this. Are you going to have your ups? You're going to have ups. You're going to have downs. Yesterday, and I'll be completely honest, I left the office yesterday, and I'm just going to say it because this is how I talk. I felt like shit yesterday. I left, and I was like, oh my God, like it was just the worst day ever. I was like, why am I doing this? And then today I got in and I went home, talked to my wife, and she had some good words to say. And now I came back today and I'm like, man, this is a great day. I can't wait for tomorrow. You're going to have those highs and you're going to have those lows and you're going to have everything in between. And that's okay. That's normal. And what you get with a group like XY is the ability to talk to people like that. I remember my mentor in the group when I first started, they gave me a mentor, and I remember talking to her and expressing how I was feeling. She was like, Emlen, I feel like that all the time. And I'm sitting here thinking like she had everything, like there was never a time when she doubted the decision that she made. She was like, Emlen, I feel like that all the time, like every day. I was like, oh. And I would never hear that if it wasn't for a group of advisors that I could come to and share my feelings. So I think XY has done a great job facilitating and providing us an environment where we can grow with one another.
Well, thank you both again, and Emlen for missing your game and making it to this call. We are approaching now with 1 minute left, so I believe we dropped a link if you guys could just give us some quick feedback on this call, if you liked it, what you didn't like, just to make them keep getting better. But remember, if you do join the network, to write down Emlen Miles-Mattingly. Ooh, that's a mouthful sometimes. And Stephanie Bucko as the reasons you joined. But thank you all so much for attending. We will see you all next month at our AMA instead of our member perspectives call on Tuesday, July 9th. So have a great night, everyone.
Thanks, Taylor.
Bye, guys.
That's nice.